Like many Canadians, I was probably first acquainted with the Franklin saga, courtesy of Stan Rogers and Northwest Passage, and what a heartwarming song that is. That's probably the first thing that stirred my imagination about Franklin. No, I can't imagine that I would have foreseen that I'd have the opportunity to personally dive on those wrecks, to be complicit in finding them after so many years of searching. The first dive on the wreck of HMS Erebus was made by my colleague Jonathan Moore and myself. We had the enormous privilege of being the first people to come into contact with this shipwreck in almost 170 years. And I think both of us will remember it as the most spectacular experience of our professional careers. One of our primary objectives during the initial dives was to try to gather enough evidence to identify which of the two ships, HMS Erebus or HMS Terror, this wreck site represented. As we proceeded to the bottom of the shot, John and I, we looked around, you couldn't readily see anything, so it was a bit disheartening that we were going to have to go and search for it. But I followed a hunch and headed off in a certain direction and came across the first timber, and that led to the next, and eventually we came up alongside the side of the ship. And the first impression, I think, is just the magnitude of it. This wreck stands bolt upright on the seafloor and at least 5 meters proud of the bottom near the bow. And so when you're right alongside in the scour pocket, you look up, it's almost 2 stories of ship looming overhead. During that first dive, I had the opportunity to descend between a couple of the exposed upper deck beams on the port side closer to the bow. We didn't penetrate beneath the decks, but you did have the opportunity to lower yourself down and take a look around. And this was in the common sailors part of the ship, so the place where they would mess and where they sling their hammocks. You could peer forward and see what appeared to be the outline of the galley stove. And that certainly was sort of a haunting moment where you realize that you're looking through a portal into the past. You could almost imagine hearing the voices of the sailors all around you. This is a place where they would eat their meals, of course, probably increasing under shortened rations as the expedition slowly unraveled, where they would perhaps sing their shanties to lift their spirits as things grew increasingly grim, where they would grouse about the difficult conditions that they were subject to, and probably where they would share their longings for an eventual return to England that would never come. So it's in hindsight, of course, that we realized that the enclosed space in the stern of the vessel would represent Sir John Franklin's own cabin. We can see that that there's an enclosed space in there, but there's a large jumble of collapsed timbers as the deck head and the beams have snapped in two. Certainly there would be a lot of archaeological information preserved inside. Yeah, an absolutely extraordinary experience to be able to find yourself inside HMS Erebus after all of these years on the bottom. Inevitably, all underwater archaeologists are asked the question about raising shipwrecks. Generally, our principle is to try to preserve and protect maritime heritage in situ. In the case of Erebus, you have to recognize that it's a one-of-a-kind site. There's such tremendous interest in the Franklin story internationally and throughout Canada. Some of these materials need to be showcased for everyone to see, to capture the period, to physically commemorate this incredible expedition and its seminal role in modern Canadian history. I imagine that in years to come we will see some form of museum. Personally, I would hope that after all the effort that's gone into finding the ships, going back almost 170 years, that now that it's finally come to pass, that everyone will be able to experience it.